Evening, everybody, and welcome to Weeknights with Wonder Girls. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Mabel. This evening, our guest presenter from Destination New South Wales, Jean, will be sharing all about the lovely places to visit in Sydney and beyond. To our audience, have you been to anywhere in New South Wales before? Or perhaps it's in your travel list? If your answer is yes to both, please type NSW in the comments to let us know. And please also like and share this broadcast.
Yes, I have been to New South Wales.
Yes.
I reckon that the most famous places that people know in New South Wales that you can associate with is always
Mm.
Sydney and maybe the Blue Mountains, as you have mentioned earlier on.
Yes, that's true. But there are also many other places that you may know, such as Hunter Valley and Port Stephens. Of course, that's not all to New South Wales. There's also some lesser known places such as Newcastle, Port Macquarie, Jervis Bay, Coff Harbour, Byron Bay, and the Snowy Mountains, just to name a few.
Sounds good. All these places that you mentioned sound so unfamiliar, sound so new to me.
Yes, sounds new to me too. So today we will be learning a lot from Jean later on.
Yes. Please like and share this broadcast. Before we start, allow me to share a little bit about ourselves if you are new to Travel Wonder. Travel Wonder is a licensed online and offline travel company based in Singapore. We specialize in active holidays. Join us in the future if you are looking for cycling, hiking, or running holidays overseas. We are also good in bespoke travel. We can plan all sorts of vacations that you desire, such as romantic getaways, rest and relaxation trips, or even family fun trip according to your requirement. Our website is www.travel-wonder.com. Remember to check us out when you are ready to travel.
Keep the engagement up and give us a like, share the video, and comment away. Tonight, we have a 6-in-1 travel organizer sponsored by Destination New South Wales to be given to the highest engager.
Oh, I wish I could take part. I saw the image of the 6-in-1 organizer.
Yeah,
Oh, so nice.
yes, looks really good.
Yeah. So please join us to welcome Jean from Destination New South Wales. Hello, Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Everyone.
Good
Hi,
Hi.
evening.
listening to you.
Good evening to
How
everyone.
have your days been? How have your day been?
It's not too bad. Yeah. So maybe I'll just start by giving an introduction of myself.
Sure.
So yes, I'm Jin from Destination New South Wales. I'm currently working for the New Zealand office actually. So I'm promoting Sydney to Kiwis. But I mean, as you can tell from my Singaporean accent, I'm a Singaporean. So before this, I was promoting Sydney to Southeast Asia. Yeah,
Okay.
and as an avid runner and also occasional cyclist and lover of the outdoors, I'm really privileged to be able to share some of my personal experiences of Sydney and New South Wales, and hopefully I will be able to share some unexpected side of Sydney and New South Wales with you guys, and inspire you guys to travel once the borders reopen again.
Yes. So if you have heard Jean, she mentioned she's now based in New Zealand, Auckland. So you
Yeah.
know what time is it now in New Zealand? It's past midnight. So she really made a huge sacrifice for all of us by staying out late. So all of you must
Yeah.
support her, must ask her a lot of
Yes,
questions so
that's
that
right.
she feels that her time spent is worthwhile.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I will try to answer all of them.
I'm sure
why
you
you have
can.
your backup here. We have your backup here in Singapore to help you also with the answering
Yeah.
of the questions. We have Siu Hoon and Chloe online as well from Destination New South Wales.
Yes, so please drop
Okay.
as much questions to us as possible.
Yes, that's right. All
Mm.
right. So, Jean, before we start, I'm going to show a couple of slides to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier on, we mentioned about all our trips. You can find it on our website at www.travel-wonder.com. Please subscribe to our mailing list if you have not done so. We will send out our e-newsletter every Friday to keep it up to date on what's the latest going on at Travel Wonder. For all the trips that we have for Australia and New South Wales, you can find it on our website. Search it under Destination Australia. This is the 6-in-1 travel organizer sponsored by Destination New South Wales. It will be given to the highest engagement for tonight's Travel Talk. You may view all our past trips, videos, and photos on our social media platforms on Facebook as well as YouTube. All right, so now let's bring on Jean's presentation.
Okay, I'll start now. Yes, I will start my presentation with sorry, just a quick COVID update on the situation in Sydney. I'll just basically quickly skim through this. As you know, like many countries, the borders are closed at the moment, but there are ongoing discussions between Singapore and Australia to establish some green lanes. So as we wait for the borders to reopen, I will share with you more things about Sydney and New South Wales, and hopefully keep the dream alive. And you guys can start dreaming and planning once for when the borders reopen. Okay, let's go into the presentation proper. So Sydney, when when I talk about Sydney and when I ask my friends what do they think about Sydney, the first thing that comes to mind is always, oh, Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge. But actually, there's so much more to Sydney. I remember the first time when I went to Sydney and I came back and shared some photos. My friends were like, "Oh wow, Sydney looks like that." So right over here, this is a picture of Manly North Head Walk, and this is really just about 10-minute ferry ride from the Sydney Harbour, and just by hopping onto a ferry, you can be able to see such beautiful coastal cliffs. And another thing that's special about Sydney and New South Wales is that we have a lot of ocean pools. So the ocean pools actually date back to the convict era in Australia, and there was in the past they were all constructed by convicts to basically be a safe haven from the waves and marine animals. But like you can still enjoy the sea and the ocean in such beautiful clear waters. And this one is in Bronte. Another really surprising thing about Sydney is that you can see a lot of wildlife in the waters. So I remember when I was taking a ferry in the Sydney Harbour, I actually saw a seal. And also during the humpback whale migration season, which is between May to September, you will be able to see humpback whales in the Sydney Harbour. So every year, from May to September, the humpback whales will swim from Antarctica all the way up to the warmer waters of Cairns, and they'll be up there to give birth to the baby calves, and then they'll swim back down. So during this period, you can actually see a lot of whales in the waters. And even in Sydney, when just like maybe about half an hour ferry ride from the Sydney Harbour, you can see whales. So I'm gonna start by some of my personal photos. Right. So even though Sydney Harbour is like such a familiar sight, every time I see it, it still blows my mind. One of my favorite things about Sydney is taking a plane, and as you can see on the photo on the left, that's taken when my plane was just about to land in Sydney. And it's beautiful because you can see all those coastal cliffs right from the plane window, and as the plane lands, you can even see the harbour, and you can spot Sydney Harbour Bridge and Sydney Opera House. So if you are the next time you go on a plane to Sydney, try to get a window seat. Another of my favorite things about Sydney is basically just taking the ferry. And in the middle photo, that's just taken on a public ferry where I hop on to the ferry from the city. And one special tip is to basically head to the open air deck right at the back, and you will have the best views of Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge. And as I shared earlier, I'm an avid runner, so one of my favorite routes in Sydney is basically by the harbour, and the picture on the right here was taken during sunrise. And I remember I was just running along the whole harbour all the way to Botanic Garden, and this is Mrs. Macquarie's chair. That's when you see the most iconic view. And as I stood there and I took a breather and rested, the sun was rising and it was really a beautiful moment. So now that we're done with the touristy Sydney Harbour, some of you may know about the famous Bondi Icebergs Pool. So the picture on the left is another of the famous ocean pools in Bondi, and there's a brunch place called Icebergs Cafe, and you can just go in and have brunch overlooking the ocean, and one of the most beautiful ocean pools I've ever seen in my life. And the Bondi Beach is also the start of the famous Bondi to Bronte coastal walk, where you will walk along rugged coastal cliffs, like the picture in the middle, and it goes all the way to Bronte. That's about a 6K easy walk. And it will end at Bronte Beach, where you'll see another ocean pool, the one that I shared earlier. And it's really, really an amazing way of experiencing nature. And during the whale migration season, you can also see whales. And on the right, that's Get Bluff. That's near Watson's Bay. So to get to Watson's Bay is also an interesting experience, and it's similar to going to Manly, where you can take a ferry from the city, and it's about half an hour ride to Watson's Bay. And this is like just an easy walk from the beach where you alight from the ferry. So this is another one of my favorite walks. I'm just going to share two of my favorite walks. One is the Watson's Bay to Hornsby Lighthouse walk. And that's where you will see Get Bluff, the one on the right here. And then you can walk by the coast. It's about a 10K walk. And you will pass by the beautiful lighthouse on the right. And that's me posing for my Instagram shot. Well, on even that day was a little bit overcast, but then that was also when I saw rainbows, and it was beautiful, and it was very, very dramatic. And another one of my favorite walks is the Spit Bridge to Manly Coastal Walk. So this is on a sunny day, no filter. Look at the blue waters on the left. So this is another a walk that you can access easily from the Sydney Harbour, where you can just hop on a ferry and go past the Sydney Opera House with the iconic view, and then come all the way to Manly, and then you can start this 10-kilometer walk. So I know a lot of you are cyclists as well. So Manly is a great place to cycle. So you can choose to cycle, or you can walk and just enjoy the coastal views and the coastal cliffs. And like I said, during the whale migration season, Manly is another good place to see whales. Okay, now that I've gotten all the walks out of the way, another really interesting and memorable experience for me was running the Sydney Half Marathon at the Sydney Running Festival. So that's me there. It looks a bit like I'm Photoshop, but actually I really did run the Sydney Running Festival. And it's the only one day in the entire year that the Sydney Harbour Bridge is closed for runners to run. And it's a really enjoyable experience because you will start across the bridge before sunrise, and as you run on the bridge, you will see the sun slowly rise up over the harbour. And of course, like with running a race, you have all the atmosphere and all the weather as well. It's really amazing. One of the key selling points I like to joke about the Sydney Marathon is that they really have a pretty good view for queuing for the toilets, as you can see on the left. And it's definitely the best view I've had in my marathon experience. And another winning point is the medal. This is probably my favorite medal of all, because you get the Sydney Opera House in the middle, and then it spins as well. And the weather, like I said. And for those of you who are looking to run, it is also a PB route, because I had my PB there. And it's flat, it's iconic. You end at the Sydney Opera House. And another evidence of why it's such a good route is I'm not sure whether you've heard of Jasmine Goh. So she actually qualified for the SEA Games marathon at Sydney Running Festival. because it's such a good route to run that she clocked her PB back then. So yeah, it's a really fun experience, and if you're looking for a runcation, you can choose from like a 10K across the bridge, or half marathon, or even a full marathon. If you want to challenge yourself, you can. Travel Wonder has some runcation packages as well, I think. So other than running, like I said, whale watching is really another really exciting and memorable experience for me, because it was my first time seeing wild whales, many of them breaching, some of them. I actually even saw a whale jump out of the water from a ferry. So I have a 30 seconds video, which I will not share here, but I think Mabel or Cheryl can share the 30 seconds YouTube link. It's just a snippet of the different whale shots that I got, and it's really funny because you can hear everyone go whoa, wah, every time the whale like jumps out of the water, and it's very, very magical. Another favorite part about Sydney is Vivid Sydney. Not sure whether you've heard of it. It's Australia's largest light festival. It's also very, very magical, and it happens every year for about 23 nights from May to June. It is a time when the whole harbour lights up, and there are lots of very interesting and immersive light installations, including participation by bars and pop-up stores, like glow-in-the-dark cocktails on the left you see here. And last year I remember there was even like a candy floss that glowed in the dark. So that was really magical, and this could be another good reason for you to go to Sydney. And of course, Singaporeans, we all love food. I'm a seafood lover myself, so my favorite to go every time I'm in Sydney is the Sydney Fish Market, because they have such fresh seafood, including sashimi, Sydney rock oysters, and really, like, I mean, Sydney is such a great place to have fresh local produce because of all the regional seafood, and even red meat from the farms that supply all the fresh local ingredients. And Sydney is also a great place for cafes. Uh, on the left here is rumored to be the world's most Instagram dessert, and that's the strawberry watermelon cake by Black Star Pastry. It's delicious. So if you're there, please stop by and have a try. And then my favorite cafe has to be the Grounds at Alessandra. It is amazing. It's a bit like Pasabella but on steroids. So it's like a warehouse converted by these two Australian entrepreneurs into like a market of sorts, where you have bakeries, coffee, cafe food, and you even have like florists and like an on-site mini farm where you have sheep and farm animals for you to pet. And it's very vibrant, and it's a great time to be, especially when the weather is nice. You just walk around with like a hot cup of coffee. So now that I'm done with Sydney, I hope I've managed to surprise you with some different aspects of Sydney. But really, there's so much more to New South Wales when you have Sydney as the gateway to the regions. And I'm going to share with you some of my personal experiences out of Sydney. So here are some road trip ideas that you can take from Sydney, and I'm going to share with you some of my experiences in the Hunter Valley, Port Stephens up north, and then if you go all the way up north, there's Byron Bay, and down south there's Jervis Bay and the South Coast, and of course the Blue Mountains. And if you're keen on going on any of these road trips, you can also check out Travel Wonders packages, and you can get them to book for you your hire car. So first one is the Hunter Valley in Port Stephens. So these are all like within good like 2 to 3 hours drive, and it's a good time which is a good time to string together a road trip. So Hunter Valley is Australia's oldest wine growing region, and it's also the first time I see wild kangaroos in the vineyards. It's quite nice, like when you're just getting a glass of wine, and then you see like wild kangaroos just hopping around. I remember we were like, when my first time was there, I was like really trying to get close to them to take a shot with them. Hunter Valley is also a great place to take the hot air balloon. It's my first hot air ballooning experience, and I think it's definitely worth it. I'm not sure whether any of you have had tried hot air ballooning. It's really quite a magical experience. So like we will start before sunrise, and we will wait for like the balloonists to assess the wind situation, and then we'll get ready for takeoff. And then they will assign us spots in a basket to stand based on weight. And then they'll get like a big giant fan to fill up get the air going in the hot air balloon. And then once it's like kind of filled up with air, they will start the fire, which will fill up the balloon with hot air. And then slowly you will like feel like, oh, you're like rising, and the whole basket will just lift from the ground. And then you will slowly rise up with the fire going on. And then as you rise up and the hot air balloon gains momentum, they will switch off the fire. And that's when you have absolute silence and you're just floating in the air. And it's really a magical experience. So the Hunter Valley is one of the best places to go on a hot air balloon ride in Australia, because the climate is very stable. It's I think it's something to do with the mountain ranges. It's at the back of the Blue Mountains, and also it's just beautiful. Like you can go up there, you float over vineyards, you see kangaroos, and then when you land, you celebrate with champagne. So about 2 hours from Hunter Valley, it's Port Stephens, and Port Stephens is another really beautiful place. That's me again posing with a quad bike. So Port Stephens is home to the world's largest moving coastal sand dunes, and it's massive. It's like rolling sand dunes by the beach, and with Sand Dune Adventures, you get to go on a ATV ride. It's really thrilling, but it's safe as well because it's very stable. Um, and I remember we were just controlling our own bikes, going up and down the hills, and it's very I would say liberating, and it's one of those moments that you feel really alive, when you go across like the vast sand dunes. And I would strongly recommend anyone who is in Port Stephens to try. Port Stephens is also the dolphin capital of Australia, because they have about 120 bottlenose resident dolphins there. And I haven't gone on a dolphin watch cruise, but I have seen dolphins in Port Stephens when I was hiking up the Tomari Head Summit. So that's not me, but I was there. It's about maybe like an hour, 1 to 2 hours hike up, and it's gorgeous at the top. You just hike up to the top, and then you see Twin Coast. And I remember when I was up there and I looked down, I actually saw dolphins like just playing along the beach. Another very magical experience for me. So now that we've gone north, now we'll go back down south, and that's the Grand Pacific Drive. Where you can drive from Sydney to Jervis Bay in 3 hours. So right out of Sydney is the Seacliff Bridge. This is about an hour's drive south of Sydney, and that's me and my friend standing over there. And that's the Seacliff Bridge. So you can see it hugs the coast, and it's a beautiful drive. You can also walk on the Seacliff Bridge, and on a clear day, it is really very beautiful. So on the Grand Pacific Drive, there's also the Royal National Park, and this is Kurakurong Falls. It's part of a Eagle Rock hike, and it's also an easy 8K return hike. So that's about 3 hours return. And what's so special about this is it's one of the very few waterfalls in the world that empty directly into the ocean. I think there are only 2 in Australia, and this is one of them. And as you drive along the Grand Pacific Drive, there are a lot of coastal hikes along the way. One of them is the Bombo Headland. It's this basalt columns that look like they're rising from the sea because of quarrying in the 1880s and 1900s. And that's me standing over there on the right in dark pink. And yeah, this is just like an easy wander, really. You just drive to the car park and then you just walk like a short path, and then you're like in this out of the world place that's so beautiful. And other than hikes, these are just some stops along the way. Symbio Wildlife Park is a place for you to get up close to kangaroos if you haven't seen them in a while yet, but I'm pretty sure you will in those places. And then you'll see a wombat. I love wombats, like this cute one over here. And of course, koalas and other Australian animals. And then if you're in Kiama, do stop by Kiama Blowhole, because this is one of the largest blowhole in the world, and it's a spectacular sight when you see the waves crash and you see the water plummet up, like high up in the air. And further down from Jervis Bay is Pebbly Beach, and that's famous for sun-tanning kangaroos on the beach. So you can choose to go to the wildlife park, or you can choose to see them in the wild on the beach, and that's also very magical. And of course, there are the whales. So as I mentioned, the humpback whales, they swim along the coast all the way from Antarctica to up to Cairns. So anywhere along the New South Wales coastline. It's a great place to see these whales when you're there during the migration season of between May to September. And oh yes, another very special thing about Jervis Bay, or like the South Coast itself, is that it's Australia's Oyster Coast Trail. So it's officially called the Australia Oyster Coast Trail. Why? Because there's so many oyster farmers over there, having their own oyster farms, farming Sydney rock oysters and other Pacific oysters. And you can visit them and have them freshly shucked for you, like Jim Wow's oyster over here. So Jim Wow is apparently one of Australia's oyster champions. So do stop there, and do make a point to stop there if you're in the Grand Pacific Drive. At night as well, Jervis Bay is amazing. So this is what you can see if you've had a very warm day in a day where the sun is shining and the planktons have absorb all the sun rays, and then at night when you trigger them, like the waves, or even just if you walk onto the shore and you just dip your hand in the water and just like give it a swipe, it's like glitter. It's really, really amazing. And other than the glittery bioluminescent planktons on the ground, the stars are amazing as well. And what better way to see it in a glamping tent, really, or actually anywhere on the beach when you look at the waters, as you see the bioluminescence. When you look up in the skies, you on a clear day, you're very, very likely to see the Milky Way and definitely like a few shooting stars, because there's so little light pollution over in the south coast, or out out of in the regions. Yep, so that's Jervis Bay. And of course, if you have a few more days on your itinerary, you can even drive further down to Narooma and Eden, as you can see here on the map. And for those of you who like combining a bit of mountains and the coast, you can also drive inwards to the Snowy Mountains, which I will talk about more later. So Narooma is famous for the Montague Island, where you can swim with seals. And of course, there are like many other spectacular rocks formations along the coast, like glasshouse rocks here. And then there's Eden. Well, like I mentioned, this whole coast is Australia's Oyster Coast Trail. So in Eden, you can also join the Captain Sponge's Magical Oyster Tour, where this Captain Sponge, he is a well-known oyster farmer with his own oyster tour, and he will take visitors on his boat out into the river, give you like a real time educational tour about how oysters spawn, and then he will go into the water and he will pull out fresh oysters from the seabed, and he will shuck it for you and then eat it, and then you can eat it on the spot, and he will even grill for you the oysters. Oh my god, I'm just feeling a bit hungry now just looking at this. So, like I mentioned, once you've done the coast, you can drive into the Snowy Mountains. And the Snowy Mountains is home to some of Australia's highest mountains, including Mount Kosciuszko, which is Australia's highest mountain. And Snowy Mountains is beautiful in winter. You can ski, you can snowboard, and you can, of course, just enjoy like a hot chocolate by the fireplace. Why I put that is because I remember when I was in the Snowy Mountains, it was my first time setting up a fireplace uh, by myself, and I think that itself was just a really cool experience because I remember I was staying like in a motel of sorts, and then they provided me with some firewood and fire starter, and I started it, and then I made my hot chocolate, and I just sat by the fireplace, and that itself was just very memorable for me. Um, in the Snowy Mountains, it's also home to Australia's highest restaurant called the Eagle's Nest. So if you're there, you don't have to hike up to eat at the restaurant. You can take a chairlift up, and then you can just have your lunch or even just drink at Australia's highest restaurant. The Snowy Mountains in summer, it's great for hiking. Um, not sure whether you've heard of the Seven Summits. It's just this famous list of all the highest mountains in each continent, including Mount Everest, Mount Aconcagua, Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and Mount Kosciuszko is actually one of them because it's the highest in the Australian continent. But it's super accessible. Mountaineers Actually, a lot of mountaineers celebrate their seventh summit in Kosciuszko with their families because you can even bring like babies up there because it's just a doable hike. So if you guys are thinking of hiking one of the seven summits, why not try the Mount Kosciuszko hike? And the Snowy Mountains in summer, it's a great place for mountain biking as well. And the best thing is that you can take the chairlift up with your bikes and then just enjoy the down slopes and the scenery on the way down. So now that I'm done with the Snowy Mountains, let's go back to mountains around Sydney, which is the famous Blue Mountains, which Cheryl and Mabel have shared their experience. The Blue Mountains is about 1.5 hours drive or train ride west of Sydney, and you can either take a day trip there or just maybe like have spend 1 week there, or you can even combine it with Jervis Bay. So there are plenty of options. But I would say at least if you were to go to the Blue Mountains, at least spend like a night or two there. For me, I spent 3 nights in the Blue Mountains, and I even that wasn't enough, I recall, because there's just so many hikes there. So this picture here is the famous Three Sisters at sunrise, and that's that sea of cloud there. That's kind of called like an inversion of sorts, and it's quite common in winter when the air is cold and the air flows from the mountains down into the valleys, and it pushes the warm air to rise from the valley. That's why like the sea of clouds kind of settles during sunrise, and it's just beautiful. So like I mentioned, I spent 3 nights in the Blue Mountains, and I was on a solo trip as well. So like I think it was Cheryl or Mabel who mentioned that the Blue Mountains it's very safe because the hikes are very well marked, and I totally agree with that. And there are like very different grades of hikes, some easy, some a little bit more challenging, but all of them are like super beautiful. Like this one that I mentioned, this is taken at Echo Point, and that's just like a short, like 5 minutes walk from the road, and then you can get this spectacular view. All you have to do is to wake up early, really. Yeah, so I took the sunrise photo on the left, and then that's me posing again on the bottom with the Three Sisters. Oh yeah, and as you can see, the background is kind of bluish. That's one of the reasons. That's the reason why Blue Mountains are called Blue Mountains, because when the sun heats up the eucalyptus forest, the eucalyptus leaves, they emit this kind of mist, and create this blue haze across the Blue Mountains, and yeah, that's why it's called the Blue Mountains. So I'm just going to share with you a few hikes that you can do at the Blue Mountains. This one is Echo Point, the one I said, which is like about 5 minutes from the road. And that's what happens maybe in the afternoon when the sea of clouds rises and clears. You get to see the entire valley. And if you look at the Three Sisters right there, I'm not sure what I can see here. On the leftist most sister, there's like a little bridge there. You can actually walk right up to the first sister, and it's an easy walk as well. It's just easy paved walk with railings, so it's very safe. And when you walk right up to the first sister, this bridge is called the Honeymoon Bridge, and it's very beautiful as well. Another favorite track of mine is the Wentworth Falls track. It's one that like what Cheryl said, you start from the top and then you walk along the canyon, and then as you can see, it's well paved with railings, and you get to enjoy nature at its best in a safe and manageable trek. This one is another famous one called the Kanangra Walls. It's a bit further further in from the main point of Blue Mountains, but it's also a beautiful one that overlooks the valley. But if you want to enjoy Blue Mountains in a more chillax way, even more chillax way than walking, there's also the Scenic Road where you can take the Scenic Skyway, which is the yellow cable car on the left, and it glides across the valley, and there's also a glass floor that you can look down into the valley, and that's quite a magical way of experiencing the Blue Mountains as well. And you can take the Scenic Railway. That's the world's steepest passenger railway, and it takes you like right from the top of the canyon right to the bottom of the valley, and you can enjoy these gorgeous views of the Blue Mountains along the way. Another way of experiencing the Blue Mountains is the Jenolan Caves. It's one of the world's most spectacular cave formations, and there is an underground river that goes right through it. As you can see here, the super blue waters over there. So you can join cave tours and walk through all these magnificent rock formations. Yep, and that's all for the Blue Mountains, and I'm just gonna venture a bit further away from Sydney, where you can drive up along the coast, and that's about 1,000 kilometers north of Sydney. Or if you can take a flight to the Gold Coast, Brisbane. It's like a 1 to 2 hour. It's about 1 to 2 hour drive to Byron Bay, and Byron Bay is another amazing place. It's the last region that I'm going to cover, and I've had very, very good memories in Byron Bay because it's a place basically I like to call full of nature, wildlife, and positive vibes. So this is Cape Byron Lighthouse. It is Australia's most easterly point. Because it's Australia's most easterly point, you'll be the first in Australia to watch the sunrise from there. I was there with a couple of friends to watch the sunrise. I remember that was that's about 4 years ago, in July, and I saw whales from there. I remember we were just sitting at the edge of the lighthouse, and as the sun was rising, we saw a whale jumping out of the water, and it was. I mean, I didn't catch it on camera. You know, some of the best moments you can't catch it on camera, but all of us were just like blown away when we saw the humpback whale jumping with the sun rising behind. You see the silhouette, and we were like, oh my god. Yeah, I remember that moment. It was a bit far though, I have to admit. So I think if you have a chance, do go on a boat cruise, whale watching cruise, or even go kayaking, because that's in Byron Bay. That's one of the most famous and the best thing you can do, really. I mean, I didn't take this picture, but I did see this from quite far away. But it was really amazing. My best friend actually spent a month in Byron Bay last year, and she went kayaking in Byron Bay. Byron Bay, I think there are only two big kayaking operators, which I'm sure Travel Wonder can book for you. So Byron Bay is during the whale migration season, it's full of whales, but they have resident dolphins as well, and they are there's like a 90% chance of seeing marine wildlife when you're out kayaking, that if you don't see any, they actually guarantee you for a free return the next round, just because they're so confident, and they know that if you don't see it the next time round, you come back, you'll see it. So if you're in Byron Bay, I do recommend you to do the kayaking tour. And I remember my best friend, when she was kayaking in Byron Bay, she saw a whale, like a whale like just swim past her when she was on the kayak, and then when she looked down, there was like the baby calf as well following, and the baby calf slapped its tail on the water, and then like they all got splashed, and she was like, that is the best moment in her life. Yeah, and I'm so jealous because I saw it from the lighthouse, right, quite far away. But and back then I thought that was like one of the most magical moment in my life as well. So I'm definitely going back there for the kayaking one day when the borders reopen again. So yeah, so that's probably all for my experiences in the New South Wales region. Like one common question that I get asked is that when is the best time to go to Sydney really and New South Wales? So Sydney generally has a sunny climate with very mild winters and warm summers because it's by the water. So when you're by the sea, the temperatures are regulated by the sea waters. But as you go inland to places like the Blue Mountains and the Snowy Mountains, the temperatures do get more extreme. Oh yes, I was in the Blue Mountains in winter. Remember when I was there alone, and I remember the moment I got out of the train, I went into a shop to get gloves because it was so much colder than Sydney. So just a warning for you guys. But it's still beautiful, of course. As you can see, I took many photos on the hike. So this maybe I will just recap what are the highlights in during each season. I mean, in summer, that's when you get blue skies. It's great for water activities. You can go swim in one of the many beautiful ocean pools. You can go hiking in shorts without gloves. But I think I kind of like hiking in the cold as well. You can like kayak in the beach, or you can even kayak in the Sydney Harbour. And summer is also when the wine growers harvest the grapes. So if you are into like grape picking, or you want to see how grapes are harvested and made into wine, I think that's a great time as well. Autumn. Autumn is it's beautiful because of the red leaves, and like everywhere you go is just beautiful. You just want to stop and take a photo. Yeah, and autumn is a great time to cycle as well because you can just cycle in cool weather and take lots of pictures. And of course, if you're in the vineyards, it's quite amazing because that's when the vineyards, the leaves, they all turn yellow and orange, and it's amazing. Winter, of course, has its charm as well. Winter, well, like I said, you can ski or snowboard or pose like me, like in the photo here, in the snow in the snowy mountains. You can enjoy wine or hot chocolate by the fireplace. And there's Vivid Sydney that happens around June every year. And of course, there's the whale migration season, which is from May to September. So winter is a great time. And I think for me personally, probably my favorite is spring because um, that's when it gets a little bit less cold, but still cool enough for you to wear some scarves and look nice in your photo. There's flowers start to bloom. On the right here, that's a jacaranda tree. So in Sydney, when you go in spring, you can actually see blossoming jacarandas and like a sea of purple in some of the botanic gardens, the parks. And oh, and spring is also when Sydney Marathon happens, so you can combine your walks, flowers, Sydney Marathon, and of course the tail end of the humpback whale migration season when they are swimming back down to Antarctica. So it's a hard decision, but I think maybe my favorite is spring. I don't know. What about you guys? Yep, so that's all from me. I hope I've managed to share with you some new stuff about Sydney and New South Wales, and also hopefully inspired you to think about your next trip there. This is just some of our social handles if you want to see more on Sydney and New South Wales. And yeah, and actually if you want to follow some of my own adventures as well, I do have a blog at ladyexplorer.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at ladyexplorer_. Yeah, or I'm on YouTube as well. You can check out some of my videos at youtube.com/ladyexplorer. But otherwise, you can also check out Sydney and New South Wales. And of course, I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. And yeah, hope you enjoyed my presentation.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you very much. I know so much about New South Wales.
That's right. It's a really informative session presentation, and I love the pictures. Oh my god, they made me want to travel there right now.
Yeah, and Siu Hoon, how could you give me such a proposal? You know, I'm totally sold. Cycling, oyster, beautiful coast, and stargazing. Who wouldn't want that?
I think
I'm
you got
totally sold. Yeah, the cycling along the Grand Pacific
totally
Road.
expected.
Yeah, I think like if you love cycling, I think there's so much out, like within Sydney, like just a bit out, like at Manly beaches or like Bondi, and of course the regions as well. Just rent a hire car with a bicycle, and yeah, you just be out there in nature and let nature entertain you.
Yeah, I mean, imagine I only cycle in the Olympic Park. I already get so in awe, so impressed. No, imagine you just go a little bit beyond. Wow, that would be like so impressive.
Yeah, indeed. Okay,
Yes.
shall we? So
We'll look at, yeah, we'll
result.
please post any questions you have for Jean.
Yeah.
And then while we wait for the questions to come in, perhaps we look at the poll results.
Okay.
Yeah, like election, but I'm not the returning officer. Okay, let me bring out. So which GRC we want to mention first? Okay, the first question is, who wants to go for walks in New South Wales? So we have 100% of our audience voted for I love walks.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why you guys are called the Wonder Girls, right?
Yeah, correct.
So question number 2, are you keen to participate in the Sydney Running Festival? 75% say yes, walk or run, I'm keen. And then 25% says, okay, I prefer cycling. And then the third question, who love fresh seafood and cafe hopping? 100% say, of course, who doesn't?
Yeah,
The
that's true. Who doesn't?
the just now Jean recommended is that the pastry?
Oh
Black
yeah,
something?
Black Star
Oh,
pastry. Yeah, that's really really delicious. Like I mean, it tastes better than it looks actually, I think.
oh, it looks so good, so it must have tasted so much better. I want to try that. The next time when I go back to Sydney, I must try that.
Yeah, it's very light, so it's not sweet at all. It doesn't feel gelat.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's like light and fluffy because it's watermelon, so it's
Oh yeah,
refreshing. Yeah, it's
yes.
quite it's quite different. I would say like the pastry chef did a really good job combining strawberries and watermelon, which is quite unusual.
Oh,
Yeah, it's quite unusual because strawberry is like sour and sweet, whereas
Mm-hmm.
watermelon is refreshing.
Mm.
and
Yeah.
this pastry is very famous because that the last time when I went to the cafe, it got sold out. So you have to go really early to get it.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were quite disappointed. We went to I think they have two locations, so we tried our luck
Mm.
at both locations. Both also sold out.
Both also sold out. It must be
Yeah.
so good.
Yes.
And what time are you there at that time?
It was late afternoon. The first time was late afternoon.
Okay.
The second time we went, it was late morning. Yeah,
And it still got sold out.
yeah, I think they bake it in batches. So once the first batch, you have to wait lah. But we didn't
Mm.
have the time to wait. So yeah, we missed the opportunity to try it.
Oh, okay. Then give you a regret that you must go back.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, we look at the fourth question. Do you want to go on the Grand Pacific Drive? 78% say yes, the views are amazing, but 22% need to bring a driver along.
Maybe you can organize like a guided driving trip for them, like
Guided
a rider.
self-driving trip,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then the last question is, do you prefer the snowy mountains during summer or winter? 70% says winter, and only 30% will prefer to go to the snowy mountains during the summertime.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all about the results from the poll.
Okay, great. So from our audience, there's a lot of engagement, but everybody is just like, excited, very excited with all the photos that Jean shared. I don't really see any questions raised from them. So we do have some questions of our own that we would like to ask Jean.
Okay.
So, Jean, so may we know which region in New South Wales is your favorite?
Oh no, that's such a difficult question. um, wow, I mean, can I like be politically correct and say I like all? Okay, well, I mean, for me, I mean, because I, as you can tell, I really love nature, so I love hiking, and I mean, I really enjoy hiking in the Blue Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But for me, I think Byron Bay has a bit of a special place because we all know that like travel is not just about what you see, right? But also like what maybe like who you're with. So and like what you just kind of like the vibes there. So I think Byron Bay had a very um kind of like a special meaning for me because I was there with a group of friends. We had a road trip we drove from Sydney all the way to Byron Bay, and then we stopped at different spots along the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like I said, at Byron, we went to the lighthouse to watch the sunrise, and then we saw like a whale breach, like against the sunrise. So that was really quite amazing. Yeah, so I would say yeah, it's maybe a tie between. Oh my god, but the Grand Pacific Drive is also amazing. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, I guess it really Byron Bay and Blue Mountains. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Jin, you just gave a very good suggestion about Byron Bay because of what you have described there, right? So
Mhm.
for any of the gentlemen out there, if you are going to propose to your girlfriend, I think that is a spot that your future wife will never say no to you.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
Huh?
yeah. If you're at the lighthouse, there's this like a breakfast tour operator called Toast the Sun. You can check it
Mm,
out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. So another question for you is, okay, so just now you mentioned about the whale watching, right? So when
Yeah.
is the whale migration season in New South Wales?
Yeah. It's from May to September. Yeah. I mean, it. Yeah. I as you can tell, I really love wildlife, and yeah, seeing them like the whales in the wild, it's quite magical. So like I think I've said it before, but yeah. So because I really love it. Like every year the humpback whales will swim from
Mm.
Antarctica up north along the coastline. So like if you're there from May to September, the chances of you seeing them along the coastline is quite high. Yeah, but I heard that on the way down when they have given birth to the calves, they get a bit more active and playful. So get to see the
Oh,
babies and the whales together. Yeah, so that I mean that's what I hear. But I mean I've seen whales in June and also in September.
okay.
Mm.
The time when I went in September, I saw the whale too. I mean, we went on a whale watching cruise. So we
Mm,
traveled about an hour out by boat into the deep part of the ocean from
right.
Sydney Harbour. Then I think we spotted two or three humpback whales.
Oh,
It's really
Oh.
okay.
quite magical. Yeah. And the whales were very playful. So they
Oh,
were circling around our boat and then they appear at the right moment just to give you a glimpse, then after that they dive down again.
mm-hmm.
So we stayed there for about half an hour to catch all the action then before we come back.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So the wheels know how to catch your excitement here and there, yeah?
Okay, Jean, okay, would you like to share which month does the Sydney Running Festival take place in?
Oh, it happens in September every year. So it's on a Sunday, usually around the third Sunday.
Hmm.
Yeah, so hopefully
Mm.
next year. I mean, I mean there's like there's the full marathon, and then there's the half, and there's a 10K, and there's a family
Yeah.
fun run as well. I think it's is it 3.5 or 3.5.
3.5,
Yeah, but
yeah.
so all of them go across the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So yeah, I mean you can even just like just join in the fun and then just walk across the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and that itself is experience.
Yeah. That is already a very unique experience, a valuable experience because the bridge is only closed for that only one day in a year.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the time when I was there, right, one interesting fact is that we took the train, but because we are participants of the run, right, when we wear our race beat, we actually get to go on the train for free to travel to the
Mm.
Vincent's Point where the race site starts. So it was very fast free. You can travel anywhere as long as you have the beep on. Very well organized. The weather is very cold when we were there in the morning, especially at the sheltered areas. But then the moment when we started running, right, it started to get very comfortable, and then we have to take off the layers of those what is it windbreakers that we have.
Yes.
Mm.
You have to start to
And
undress as you run, right?
correct, yes. And just now you mentioned about the our runner getting the personal best, right?
Yep.
Jasmine.
Jasmine Go, yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I can understand why, because the weather is really perfect. The route is also very scenic. It distracts you, you know. I'm not a professional runner, lah. So when I run all that, right, the scenery, all that distracts me. And then it takes me
Yeah.
off the exhaustion of running. Yeah. So that's the joy of running during the Sydney Running Festival.
And the whole atmosphere too, like you have people cheering you on, and it's
Yeah.
just very it's a great atmosphere. I'm not a professional as well, but like I really enjoyed it, and I also did my own PB. Didn't represent Singapore, of course, but yeah, it's very
Uh,
enjoyable.
uh, is that also like the last international runs that runners can use it to clock their points to qualify for some of the big runs of the
Yes. Oh
world?
yeah, that's a very good point. So yes,
Mm,
I think it's the last race to qualify for Boston. So that's the
mm,
biggie that
Mm.
everyone
okay.
wants to go for. Yeah. So if
Mm.
you put it in the calendar, and yeah, and really like if you train in Singapore and then you go to Sydney, like the weather is really in your favor. It's a flat course, like it's cooling.
Yeah.
So
So is there any chance that this year the race is brought onto the virtual space? Like people, those who have already signed up can actually continue to do virtual runs and they still get to got their goodie bag or their medals? Sort of
That
things like that.
I am not too sure. Yeah,
Mm.
but I mean, I think as of now that the race is still gonna go on, but I haven't heard
Okay.
from
All
the
right.
organizer yet. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, for now we probably can dream about next year in September.
Uh, okay. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
if the race get to go on, it'll be envy of so much overseas runners, you know. It's like
Mm-hmm.
those who have already signed up, who wanted to go, but we can't travel.
Yeah,
So we
because
can only,
even
yeah,
I
we
mean,
can
like,
only start planning for 2021.
yeah, I mean, like I said, even like world champions like Elliot Kipchoge, they are delaying their marathons. So for us, yeah, we just have to keep trucking along and dreaming, and yeah, I mean, it will reopen again, and once it does, we can all tick off our bucket list.
Mm,
yeah.
Mm.
yes.
Okay, so just now, Jean was asking us. I mean, she was sharing that your favorite season is spring, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
asked the audience what is their favorite season. So I think I saw a reply from is it Shan? Shan say her favorite season is autumn and spring because her kaki love cool weather.
Yeah, then you can like wear scarf and beanie and like pose for the photo.
Yeah. Actually, that time when I was there in September, where the weather was quite chilly, I was surprised when I made a trip to Manly Beach, right?
Mm?
There are so many people in bikinis and top bottoms.
Ah.
I was like, "Wow,
Yeah,
so cold, you know. They can the locals they were really enjoying the weather. But for
yeah.
us, because we came from tropical climate, right? So somehow for me, I feel it's very chilly.
Mm-hmm.
Like 15 degrees, actually it's bearable lah. But because we are by the sea, then there's the sea breeze, so I find it a little bit cold. But for them, it's like wow, just enjoying the moment, playing all the outdoor sports,
Yeah, it's quite
volleyball.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like in winter, you see like surfers in the water with their wetsuits, of course, but like,
But it's
yeah,
still cold.
yeah,
Mm. Okay, let's see.
Do we have any more
Plan now,
questions?
chiong later. Questions so far, I think not that I think we more or less addressed
Yeah.
it already. Yeah.
Yeah, but the audience are very inspired. There's so many comments ongoing throughout your entire presentation.
Yeah. I think your oysters make them all crave for oysters.
Yeah, even as I was talking, I was like, oh my god, I feel like eating oysters now.
That's why we are like, you're making me very hungry also.
Yeah. I think all your photos, from what I see in the comments, right, it seems like a lot of them have already been to New South Wales, to Sydney, and your photos trigger a lot of lovely memories, from their trip. And it seems like
Yeah,
a lot of them do not mind going back a second or third time because there's just simply too many things to do.
yeah,
So
that's
much
Yes,
right.
indeed.
be able to cover. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
indeed. There are
Yeah.
so many other places in New South Wales that is worth visiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why it's so funny. He was like attended a couple of these live sessions. So many places, so little time.
So little time for 2021 moving forward. Today I just received a picture. The four most useless thing in 2020. First, our passport, our annual leave, our luggage, and what else? Is it
Uh,
the holiday clothing, the winter clothing? Four things.
I mean,
The
yeah,
four
winter
most
clothing.
useless thing for 2020.
Yeah lah.
Yeah.
So what we can do is plan for 2021 as well as
Yeah.
2022. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay,
Okay.
we shall not keep Jean any longer because now,
Yes,
oh
correct.
goodness, it's coming to 2 a.m. in New Zealand.
Mm. No,
Thank you
that's
so
okay.
much
I
for
had fun. Yeah, I was reminiscing. I feel like I reminisced upon my own personal experiences as well, and I would love to go to Sydney and New South Wales as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm
Okay.
sure the border between the two countries will be the first to open up.
We'll
Yeah,
find out.
that's right.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so before we log off, I just have a couple of closing slides to share with everybody. Okay, just a recap again on where you can find all our trips for New South Wales and Sydney. It's on our website at www.travel-wonder.com. Search under Destination Australia. We have a 6-in-1 travel organizer sponsored by Destination New South Wales to the highest engager. So continue to engage, to like and share this video to your friends. This Saturday at 3:30 p.m. we are going on Facebook Live to share the latest items on our TW shop. So we'll be sharing about tea that we procured from Chiang Rai and some beauty products from South Korea from Ihan Carino. So next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on our Midweek Chatter with Wonder Girls, Sharon and I will be chatting about all the latest current affairs while having tea. So do tune in. If you have any questions about the tea that we bring in or any of the products, feel free to let us know. On the 6th of August, on our Weeknight with Wonder Girls, we are bringing Greenland to you. So tune in on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. You can reach us at our contact number +65 8714 3321 on WhatsApp, or just log on to our website and submit a query. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's session. Thank you so much, Jean, for your time. We have learned so much from you, and everybody really enjoyed your presentation. And we shall not hold you back, but let's take a group photo before we log off.
Yes.
Okay? All right. So 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. We
Thank
hope you
you. Thank you,
enjoy,
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
enjoy your Friday tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
TGIF.